the director of the University of Maryland's Advanced Program, and I'm also a professor of higher education, and I study faculty careers and academic reward systems. And particularly in the last 5 to 6 years have had a particular focus on gender issues and how academic reward systems at large impact diverse faculty and how they can be reshaped to support diverse forms of scholarship. So I'm really interested in how our academic reward systems, particularly in research universities, have not been built in a way that supports diverse faculty, women in STEM fields perhaps, or even in non-STEM fields, as well as underrepresented minority faculty, and newer forms of scholarship. So interdisciplinary work, engaged scholarship, some new kinds of digital media that are happening. We really need to reform the way we're built, sort of our built environment within universities, in order to have that full participation and the inclusive excellence that our universities are talking about. For us at the University of Maryland, data has been an important part of our project to sort of diagnose problems. So for example, is there a difference between women and men when they go up for tenure and promotion? Or is there not, right? That's something you need benchmark data to show. Are there differences in years to advancement between associate and full between men and women? Both at the University of Maryland and at many campuses, yes, there are. It takes women longer to go from associate to full. Are there fewer women at the top ranks of even professional track faculty tracks? Yes, that's a problem nationally and at Maryland. So we've used data to sort of diagnose problems. We've also used it to benchmark, and I'm very excited that I've gotten to work with Betsy Beese, Associate Provost Associate Provost for Academic Planning at Maryland, and 2 colleagues, an RA of ours, Sasha Kuveva, as well as Sandy Gordon-Salant, to create a service dashboard as well as a dashboard more generally for our faculty. And here what we're doing is we're using data to contextualize problems or issues so that individual faculty, their agency is enhanced by having information that positions them vis-a-vis others, positions Maryland vis-a-vis others on different issues. So for example, one of the first things we created was a salary dashboard where you had a 25th, you could see your salary by rank in your college vis-a-vis other folks' salaries. That's helpful for negotiating your salary and also knowing if you feel like you're, underpaid or over, where you are in that quadrant. But we also created a service dashboard because women reported doing more service than men on our surveys. And I think it was a pretty unique approach in that we were able to say, by rank, by college, what are the average number of service commitments that assistant and associate and full professors are engaged in? So that if an assistant professor went to their department chair and said, I feel like I'm engaged in more service than everybody else, and the department chair said, well, no, actually everybody's involved in a lot of service, and how would you know that anyway? She could actually pull this up and say, well, actually, they've done a calculation of this, and the average assistant professor in this college is doing about 2 or 3 committees, and I'm doing 6 or 7, so I am doing more. And then they could talk about what that means for her workload. So again, using data as a sort of to contextualize her experience vis-a-vis everybody else, and then empower her to ask for what she might need, which might be a workload adjustment if she's taxed more than other folks in her college. So the last thing that data's been really useful for has been we've done a climate survey, and many campuses have done climate surveys. We have, our provost has asked each of our deans in each of our colleges to use the data they receive from the climate survey to identify one challenge area and one best practice. So one area where the data for their college show faculty saying, we really need to do work on this area. It might be work-life climate, it might be associate to full advancement, it might be an issue related to diversity and inclusion, where they'll develop a project together the faculty, the leadership of that college, to go tackle that issue and publicly, throughout the year. And one area where faculty said, this is great. We got this going on. This is going really well. And that as a best practice that could be portable to other colleges on the campus. So I'm really proud of that because many campuses get their climate data and it comes in and there's some good news and bad news and it varies by rank or gender or race. It varies by part of the campus. And that's it. They leave it there. They bring in the data, they check it in again 2 years later, and they again bring in the data, and nothing happens with the data other than people hoping it'll just get better. But we're really trying to use the data to guide our strategies so that it can inform what happens in a college to try to make it a better place to work for everybody. Once you sort of examine it in your own backyard, that people will have more energy toward, there'll be more sort of critical agency about doing something about it in your own backyard. And that if you only bring in the national trends or talk about the fact that this happens, writ large, then you just get less energy locally. It's sort of like, yes, that happens, and that's terrible that happens, but what are we going to do? We're going back to our jobs. Once you make data transparent and available widely, once the norm becomes that it'll be posted on a website, it'll be disseminated widely, everyone will know that it exists. I think mostly research university and most public universities, I would imagine this would also be true in many private as well. I think there's a thirst for that, for some kind of context for making change. A perfect example of that is that it can be true that the social science research has shown that there are biases implicit in the way we do everything, right? And from who we cite to how we mentor and who gets on editorial review boards. They're embedded in our sort of academic reward system at large. But until you actually show that it's happening on your own campus to your own colleagues, people might not feel the catalyst. Oh, well, that's happening other places. It's not happening here. So there really is an important role to play in studying it in your own campus. So we studied whether there was a gender difference in the amount of service that was being done by women and men. Campus service is being done by women and men faculty. Now, we know that nationally, the trend in the data has largely been that women are doing more on-campus service, and that's a trend that people have documented for 10 to 15 years. But until you prove that it might actually be taking place on your own campus, there's less of a catalyst for people to say, oh, that's us too, and then to actually do something with it to sort of move toward, well, do we need to examine workloads, committee assignments, what can we do? What can we do? I guess I would say that it's important to create trust and accountability for the use of it. So, for example, it's important that faculty who are taking surveys or who know that you're collecting data, institutional data within the institution, understand that you've put in processes to ensure confidentiality and ensure that their data will, be used to pull out themes and that in no way will compromise the trust that they gave you by providing that data. So I think that trust is a huge thing. So whoever is in the process of collecting data, make sure there's a really strong either IRB process or accountability system to make sure that there is a good amount of sort of protection of that data, and then to create a diverse team. So you might want to talk with somebody in the provost's office, in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, in your Office of Institutional Research, who acts as an associate dean and works with the data at a college level, so that different people are looking at it to sort of understand what it means and how to make the most use of it.